So, Madam President, thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us today. I understand you have a busy schedule this week. Yesterday, of course, you met NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg. Are you concerned about the unity of the alliance at the current time, following President Macron's comments that the NATO alliance is somewhat brain dead?
Of course, this was not the reason of my visit. This had been agreed long ago, and we meet regularly and discuss NATO and its development also in our corner of the world. And as you know, since 2014, NATO's deterrence capacity in the Baltic states has been considerably beefed up. And we have enhanced forward presence. In our case, it's UK, which is responsible for the framework, and then you have French, Danes, Belgians, others coming in on rotational basis. We were discussing all this, what we have learned also from the EFP, because previously there was pretty little information in the headquarters how exactly the Baltic states could be defended and how exactly our forces could cooperate between themselves. Also, as we all know, logistics is all important, and even the peacetime logistics can be a challenge sometimes across Europe. We've learned a lot from the EFP, and actually all Europe has, because now we know that we can move smoothly the troops from UK to Tallinn without too much of administrative hassle. In the Baltic states, there is the military mobility, which is free, so troops can exercise being based in Estonia, in Latvia instead. And we were discussing all these developments, actually.
Why is a strong NATO alliance important to Estonia?
I think strong NATO alliance is important to every NATO member. It protects and defends our liberal, democratic, values-based part of the world. And we all stick together. I don't see that there is any stronger particular need to discuss Baltic states in this context. If we think about the modern risks, they are not narrowly centered close to the geographical borders or the sources of the risks. Think of Salisbury, for example. So we need to stand up for each other, and this is what we do in NATO. So strong NATO is important for, I believe, every ally in NATO.
Do you still regard Russia as the biggest threat to the NATO alliance, or are there more pressing global concerns in the modern age?
There are various threats, and we try to help each other with all these kind of threats. Estonia has been and still is on missions in Afghanistan, in Iraq. With French, we are on a bilateral, it's not a NATO mission, in Barkhane. So we try to contribute to security 360 degrees, like every other NATO member. But indeed, we know better the risks which are at NATO's eastern flank. And there is, no secrecy, of course, about the fact that Russia does not respect its own signatures on the international acts. And analyzing this situation has made NATO to conclude that there are risks which are considerable. Also, if you look at the level of forces which Russia has in its western part of the country, close to NATO's eastern flank, then the level of troops and technology, what they have there, posted there, is at the level which in 2009 was called exercise Zapad, 2009. So NATO has to understand that there is pretty little reaction time if something should go wrong. And while, of course, we do not think that there is an immediate risk, and we know that NATO has 100% success rate in defending its members, this 100% success rate depends on being ready and having your deterrence at the level where it would really deter. Therefore, it's been very important that NATO has analyzed Russia, its behavior in Georgia, in Ukraine, and come to the conclusion that it needs to have more power close to its eastern border, which happens to be the Baltic states and Poland.
Could you say a bit more about your strategic approach towards Russia? And more generally, do you have plans to attend the May 9th Victory Day parade in the country?
I don't have any invitation to that occasion, but I have invited President Putin for next summer to Fenno-Ugric conference in Estonia. So there is an opportunity that we could discuss, as neighbours do discuss, bilateral matters and also, of course, the global matters, including Ukraine, Georgia, which we did also this year in April. I think we all talk about deterrence and dialogue, and I'm strongly of the school that you need to discuss even with the most difficult partners.